My name is Shaundelle Brooks, and my son Akila, that was 23 years old, was one of the four innocent young people who were gunned down in the Antioch Waffle House on April 22nd, 2018. Akila, my older son Abedi, and Akila's girlfriend Tia were doing what many young people do, enjoying some late night food before heading home for the night, when a young man entered the Waffle House, opened fire. Akila and three other young people were killed. Thea suffered serious injuries to her leg. Receiving a call that your son was shot and later learning that he didn't make it was beyond devastating. Looking at his cold, motionless body in a box was beyond painful. It's something a mother, a parent, a family should never have to experience. My son Akila was a gifted artist and a brilliant student. He wrote and produced songs, shot and edited videos, and built his own computer from scratch to work on his music. He was a computer engineer with a purpose. Akila's music was positive and encouraging. Like many young people, he was upset by gun violence in our country, and his music urged people to turn away from violence. One of the lines from his song Prophet is forget about making a hashtag. Let's throw all the guns in a trash bag. Akila weaved theme of anti-gun violence and gun control in his music. How ironic and tragic it is that my son was murdered by someone with an AR-15 style rifle, who should have never had a weapon in his possession. My son was a beautiful soul who perfected how to be a son, a great brother to his siblings. He loved his family, but most of all, Akila wanted to live. We didn't lose him. He was taken from us, and none of our lives will ever be the same. My sweet baby, my angel, my son Akila was robbed of his life. When a man with no rights to own a gun, no permit to carry a gun, was in possession of many guns. The person who murdered my son was prohibited from possessing guns in his home state of Illinois. In Illinois, to purchase or possess a gun, you must have a firearm owner identification card. After he breached the secured area of the White House, following several run-ins with the law enforcement, his license were revoked, which meant he could no longer legally possess guns in Illinois. He was allowed to dispossess those guns to his father. When he decided to move to Tennessee, his father gave the guns back to him. At that point, both he and his father were breaking Illinois' law. But after he crossed Tennessee state line, he was legally allowed to possess those guns, because in our state, you are not required to have a permit or a firearm owner identification card to possess a gun. Since my son's murder, I have learned a lot about gun violence in our country and our state. I have studied the data and looked at the research. I've also dedicated my life to doing whatever I can to prevent another family from suffering the way my family has suffered, to prevent another mother from having to bury her child, from having to wake up every single day with a broken heart and the knowledge that she will grow old without him. It is impossible to imagine the pain you feel when your loved one is violently taken from you until you experienced it. It is important to understand the effects of gun violence are not just the loss of life. My son Abedi suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder after what he experienced at that Waffle House. Abedi watched as Akila bled, held him as he screamed in pain, and ultimately watched him die. Then, with Akila's last breath, Akila went there at peace. My son left our home on April 22nd, 2018, and left the video game paused. He left in his room. He left the music project up on his computer. He left safe and left our lives forever. That night, our nightmare began and our lives spiraled out of control. We were forced to live in new norm. We cried so hard we were unable to speak. Gun violence is personal to me. It hit home, it hit my heart, and upturned my world. Senseless gun violence took my son, my sweet Akila, away from me. Life will never be the same. We all have a responsibility to fight to end gun violence, because gun violence knows no boundaries, such as race, gender, economic status. We all should have the right to assemble without the fear of being killed. I have become a survivor by no choice of my own. We have been thrown into a club of survivors that we had no interest in. After losing my son Akila, I have decided to turn my pain into action. My life is now dedicated to keeping my son's memory alive and doing everything I can to reduce gun violence. We are now using Akila's message to advocate for gun control and gun safety laws. We founded the Akila da Silva Foundation to help educate and carry Akila's legacy. I will always stand in Akila's name. Many cannot understand why I'm still angry. Why shouldn't I be? It is the anger over my sons being murdered and our faulty gun laws and the negligence behavior of the father that led to the untimely premature death of my son Akila. That fuels my fight. I fight that no other mother has to feel the pain that I do on a daily basis. I fight for the safety of American little boys and girls. I fight because there has to be some purpose in my pain. I am disgusted and angry that not enough is being done to prevent another mass shooting from happening. I am tired and empty. I'm tired of empty promises, blames, and excuses, telling us as you get through this, we will get through this as a nation. No, you will, politicians. We have to live with this for the rest of our lives, and it never goes away. Babies are being killed, and yet all we get are thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers with no action to protect us. I was told by the state senator that if my son had a gun, he would have been able to save his own life. What a disrespectful and heartless thing to say to a grieving mother who is fighting to understand and survive. Here we are again. We've heard leaders blame everything but guns over the last few weeks. 10 people were slain because of their race in Buffalo. 19 children and 2 teachers were murdered in their classroom in Texas. And 6 teenagers were shot in Chattanooga. What was the common thread among these 3 tragedies? Guns. The list keeps growing, and all that we get is more thoughts and prayers and blame. We call on our leaders to step up and do something. The only thing to blame beside guns are the people who choose to do nothing about it. To feed a sick obsession that is absolutely senseless. They won't even try to figure it out. We need change, and we need change now. background checks to purchase or own a gun are not wanting to take your Second Amendment rights away. Wanting training and a permit to operate a gun is not wanting to take your Second Amendment rights away. Wanting to keep our children safe is not wanting to take your Second Amendment rights away. Where are the good guys with the guns when our children are being gunned down? We are tired. We are angry. Stop giving children access to guns of mass destruction. Enough is enough. We need action now. It took almost 30 years for Congress to take baby steps in preventing gun violence and saving lives. Enough is enough. We need action. We must vote them out. We must stand up and never give up. Thank you.